morning, friends, and welcome back. I am going to take a couple of cans. This is a coffee can, and as you know, they have much larger coffee cans than this. And I'm going to show you how I turned these cans into this. And this is the coffee can, and then I worked on a smaller can. And these instructions work for large cans, small cans, any cans that you want. I'll even show you how to remove the pesky labels and residue. And the first thing you want to do is, if you have a label like this on here, just go to the seam and pull away as much of the label as you can. You'll notice that you are left with a can that looks like this. In most cases, this is how all cans look. So all you want to do is take a pair of gloves, put on some gloves for this because we'll be using the heat gun. You want to make sure you have, believe it or not, some furniture polish. You also want to have a heat gun on hand, your embossing tool, a heat gun. You wouldn't be able to use your hair dryer for this. You need a higher temperature. So make sure you have a heat gun or an embossing gun, or your embossing tool, and you want to take a rag and hold one end of the can with the rag and take your heat gun and direct it, and I'm going to work in one little spot at a time. Direct it right over where you have a little bit of label left over and this residue. This particular one I'm going to keep in real time so you can see it almost immediately. I'd say it takes 20 seconds maybe. It melts away the residue and any plastic, and then you have to put the furniture polish on there because the petroleum-based oil in there helps to eat away any of that residue. So I'm just going to continue this with those next couple of spots on here. And when I'm all done, I'm going to now submerge this in very hot soapy water. You'll notice there's another coffee can in there, because I tried originally to just use hot soapy water like you do with glass label removal. It did not work at all. You couldn't get this residue off. So you can submerge it, wash it, and dry it right away, and then we move on to the next step. Now that the can's all dry and the label and residue is gone, I'm going to remove the bottom of the can with the can opener. And you want to make sure, sometimes after you remove a lid, there's still some pieces in here that are rather sharp. All you have to do is take the can opener and go around that whole surface again. It will press any of those loose areas down so that you don't cut yourself while you're working on this. Now I took the cans outside and I'm using a spray-on chalky finish because I'm working on quite a few of these and I want to make this quicker for the video. If you would like to do this inside, it's perfectly fine to use chalk paint. I wouldn't recommend acrylic because then you need a spray base coat anyway, and the chalk paint eliminates the need for a base coat. Now that these cans are dry, I'm inside now, and you can see there's a couple of dents in here, but it won't matter. Once you decoupage that, you're not going to see that. And you want to experiment with a few different napkins to see what you would like to use. I actually went into the room where I'm going to use this and checked the napkins against the wall color to see which ones I like best. And I did two separate cans. I used the napkin you just saw and this one on a smaller can so that you could see two different examples. So now we want to remove the back layers of paper from our napkins. So remove the one or two plies from back there so that you're just left with this top ply. And now you want to take a sheet of cling wrap or saran wrap large enough that it will go around at least half of your can. And put that aside because we're going to need that in a moment. And you want to apply napkin decoupage glue. You can use any decoupage glue, but you'll have a lot more success if you use the napkin decoupage glue, and only put it on about a quarter of the area of the can. And then the best way to do this is take your napkin edge, the straight edge of it, and line it up right against that seam there. Then you place your napkin down. Now you want to tap it a little lightly up at the top there to secure it, just a little bit, and you can pull it a little bit. This way you can get rid of the wrinkles in there. But then we have one more step that we want to do. Let's take the saran wrap now and wrap it around this coffee can where we just placed the napkin. Now when you place it over this, you want to pull it down pretty tightly. You'll notice there might still be some wrinkles in there, but this is actually removing all of the wrinkles and pressing this napkin right down onto your surface. And the napkin will not stick to the plastic, so that's why we're doing this. And do it a few times until you feel relatively happy with it. You can also pull it tightly again, and now we're going to apply a little bit more decoupage glue to the next section. Sorry, I'm out of frame there. And repeat that same step. Pull the napkin around, pull it a little tightly, not too tight. You don't want to tear the napkin, but you do want to pull it so that most of the wrinkles are out. And you could do this on the sides. And you see there's a lot of wrinkles in there right now, but those are going to go away once we take the saran wrap. And repeat those same steps. Just pull that as tightly as you can around the coffee can. And by the way, while you're doing this, make sure you are pressing into those grooves that are in the can. See how I'm using my finger and going into those grooves? You can also use a fine paintbrush to get into those areas. And now we're removing the wrinkles, and we're also getting the napkin firmly secure onto this surface so that now you see there are no wrinkles. And we're going to let this dry, and we'll file those edges away once this dries. You can also bunch up that saran wrap and go all over the surface to make sure that you've got all of these ridges filled in with the napkin. By the way, if you're working on a smaller can or a smaller surface, you want to do this first to make sure that you don't have too much excess with this. So I measured it as closely as I could and then just cut away all of that excess. And once the can was dry, I took my nail file and again just file in one direction. You always want to make sure these ends stay as secure as possible. So file in one direction, pulling the file towards you. And once you've filed away all of that excess, make sure you've wiped off your container so that none of the filings or the paper dust is left over on here. And I'm just going to add one more coat of the napkin decoupage glue over the whole surface and put it aside to dry. Now that everything's dry, I am taking the triple thick glaze in the jar and I'm going to paint it on. You can also use the triple thick in the can, which is what I was going to do, but as you can tell by the difference in the lighting here, we had a little bit of a power outage because it's storming outside, so I couldn't use the spray. So I'm taking the triple thick and I'm going to apply it over my surface. I'm going to work in sections. You have to make sure that you use a brush like this as opposed to a sponge brush, and you want to make sure with this triple thick that you don't go over the same area too many times. It actually starts to dry quickly and it can drag. But while this is still wet, I'm going to take a few different colors of glitter and sprinkle it over the whole surface. I was using the spray can of the triple thick, I would do the same thing. While the triple thick is wet, I'm taking some glitter and I'm going to apply it all over my surface. And now here's how this can looks now that it's all dry. I still don't have the power back, so I'm going to come back in the morning. And here we are the next day, and this is how this looks in the light. And I also wanted to show you that I'm going to put two different trims on each one of these. On this one, I'm using, you can see these pearls are attached. They're flat back pearls that they come on a spool, I believe, and I'm using some E6000 with a toothpick. You can see I need to get a new container of E6000, and I'm using the toothpick to make sure I hit every one of these, and I'm also using the E6000 because it's the only glue that I know of that is going to hold up to the humidity in the bathroom, which is where this one is going. So I'm just going to add this trim on both ends of this can using the E6000. And on the other can, the larger can, I am taking some velvet ribbon that matches my napkin, and I'm going to put that around the edges. Same way, I'm going to use the E6000 and a toothpick to be able to spread this nice and smoothly over my surface. I just work in sections at a time and wrap it around the ends of the coffee container. You can also apply it directly to the container if that's easier for you. I do recommend though that you use a toothpick and just smooth it out nice and evenly. And here's how this looks now that we have these ends on here. And now, because I want to use this to hang something, I'm taking this sheer ribbon that matches the colors in here, and I'm going to loop that through the can. And then I'm just going to tie it up at the top here. Now, because I want to hide this excess up here, and I wanted this little extra shell accent, I'm going to use the E6000 to stuff the top of this ribbon into this shell. But first, I wanted to show you, if you don't want to do that, you can simply just hide that excess on the inside. I personally wanted to use the shell, so I'm going to show you what I did to make the shell even prettier than it already is. And what I did was I took this container of Maya Gold that's made by Viva Decor. They have these metallic paints in so many stunning colors. You'll probably see me doing a lot more of these in the upcoming videos. Just using these colors because they're just phenomenal. They make me want to find projects to work with. So I'm painting this metallic gold over the shell, and I'll let that dry. It dries relatively quickly. Hopefully I can find these to put on my website for you guys to purchase. The link for that is right below. Here's how this looks dried. Isn't that just beautiful? And by the way, on this smaller can, I took a sheer white ribbon and put that through, and I just spray painted a little branch and added some glitter to it. And because this is wired ribbon, I just wrapped the ends around the end of my paintbrush, pulled it out so that I had a nice little curly Q on there. And here's how our finished projects look. This is the one that I will be putting spare towels in, or a spare towel. And there's our beautiful shell with that Maya Gold color on it. And here's how the base of this looks. And here's how the other one looks. And I was trying to film these outside so you could see how the sunlight really makes them sparkle. And this is how I will be using this one. And I hung that in the bathroom right next to the sink. And here's the larger one that has a spare towel in there. And don't forget, if you're going with a heavier towel, you'll want to make sure that you use something that can bear the weight of that towel. And just a couple of other ideas. You can also store extra soap in here. You can put magazines in here, and you can also fit that spare roll of toilet paper inside of the larger coffee cans. Well, there's our video for the week, and thank you so much for all of your lovely compliments and your subscriptions and thumbs up. That allows me to keep making videos for YouTube. One thing I keep forgetting to ask is if you would share my video on Pinterest or Twitter. It is a huge help to me. And I also have the link to my website down below so that you can go over and check out some supplies. And Upcycle with Decoupage is on Facebook. If you go over and like and follow the page, you'll be notified every week when I put a new video out. And that can help you out because, I don't know about you, but I'm subscribed to so many wonderful artists on YouTube that I get all of these different notices, and I am like, I can't watch all of these, so I have to pick and choose my favorites. And I wish they would notify me through Facebook, because I can't get over to YouTube as often as I would like. I'm always working. And in the meantime, I will see you next week with another video. Thanks again, my friends. Bye-bye.